Welcome to Vision Plus.
Now, Richard and Nell Sikes that live here in the village of Providence, they're having an event this weekend. So Richard, welcome, and tell us a little bit about that picture you're holding.
This is my granddaughter, Megan Sikes, who is about 6.5 years old. And about 3.5 years ago, just 3 days before her 3rd birthday, she was diagnosed with juvenile or type 1 diabetes. And since then, her life has been a constant succession of blood checks for sugar level and insulin shots, day in and day out, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There is no vacation from diabetes. You have to, your pancreas quits working when you have diabetes, and you have to regulate your blood sugar level by using insulin. And that's what Megan has to do. Her mom and dad give her the insulin shots when they're required, 4 times a day.
So you're going to have this juvenile diabetic research, a fundraiser this weekend, aren't you?
At 1 o'clock at Dianetics and Research Park. The registration is going to be at 1 and the walk is going to be at 2:30 for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. That's an organization that parents started about 30 years ago, and it has raised a lot of money, and a lot of progress has been made in fighting diabetes, but there's still a lot to do.
Tell me how you found out Megan had the juvenile diabetes.
Well, about 3.5 years ago, one afternoon, our daughter-in-law called Nell, my wife, and said, Megan is just not feeling well today at all. And this was a Friday afternoon, and if she doesn't get better, I'm going to take her to the doctor Monday. And so Nell said, well, why don't you bring her over here and let me keep her for a while and see if I can give her some orange juice and get her pepped up a little bit. And so Megan...
That was a Friday afternoon?
Friday afternoon.
So
and the mother was going to say, well, we'll wait till Monday and see. But so anyway, Nell gave her some orange juice right off the bat, and it didn't stay on her stomach anytime. It came up.
Oh boy.
And so Nell said, there's something wrong with this child, and we're going to get her to the doctor today. Now, we're not going to wait till Monday.
No.
So they took her over to a walk-in clinic over there on Highway 72. And they took her right in, and the doctor was well aware of what her symptoms were and that she was a prime candidate to have diabetes, and gave her several tests. And her blood sugar, which normally her blood sugar should be about 120, 130, and it was over 700. So they wouldn't even let Nell take her to the hospital. They put her in an ambulance.
Oh my.
And went flying down to Huntsville Hospital, and she spent 3 or 4 days there, and they did all kinds of stuff to get her blood sugar under control. But since then, her life has just been nothing but, just monitoring her blood sugar, giving her insulin when needed, and watching what she eats. And of course, a kid, she loves ice cream, she loves watermelon, and that stuff, you really shouldn't eat a lot of that with diabetes.
Oh my.
And so it's really hard, and especially not quite 3 years old, it's really hard to explain to a kid that age that, you can't, even though your sister, she has a sister who is almost exactly a year younger than she is, and Paige, she can eat anything she wants and whatever. But it's hard to explain to a kid that little that you can't have that, And it's really been a battle, but Megan is very adaptable, and she's done well with her treatments, but it's still just a never-ending day in and day out process.
How's your son taking that?
Well, obviously it changed his life as well as our daughter-in-law, but he is a sales executive, so he travels locally a lot, and so he works long hours. And so then he has to help with the insulin shots and the blood monitoring, and so it's really been an impact on him too.
And you,
and of course Nell and I are not 100% comfortable keeping Megan at night, and her younger sister Paige gets to spend the night with us a lot, and she loves that. You know how kids are about grandma and grandpa.
Oh, sure, I got 3 of those.
And Paige absolutely loves that, and Megan can't do it, and you know that really bothers us that we can't keep Megan as much
Why
as we
are
do
you
Paige.
afraid? You just need the mama and daddy there?
Well, it's and giving her the insulin. We can monitor the blood sugar, okay, but when she needs insulin, we're leery of giving the shots ourselves, you know. So that's been a bit of impact.
Does she have to have the shots, Richard?
After every meal, and then she has one at night before she goes to sleep.
After every meal.
So that's 4 a day.
Oh.
Every day. It's not something you can say, well, I'm on vacation today and we're going to let this slide. It has to be done day in and day out. And that's what really just wears you out. You never take a vacation, as we say, from diabetes.
So what do you think caused it to start, or how in the world does it start? Do you have any clue?
Well, juvenile diabetes or type 1 diabetes is not a lifestyle issue or a lack of exercise issue or a diet issue. It's just something you're born with. And her pancreas obviously was weak from the time she was born, but it just gave out and quit working at the time she was almost 3 years old. And so it's just something you have. It's not, now type 2 diabetes is another matter entirely, because it is a lifestyle issue. You have bad diet, no exercise, overweight, and so on. But that is not the case with juvenile diabetes at all.
And when they're born with it, you don't really know it for. It's not something they test for when you're born. No. And it's something that comes. Wonder how long she's been feeling bad.
I'm sure that wasn't the first, occurrence of it, and she just had milder versions of it early on. But there are people who aren't diagnosed until they're teenagers.
Oh,
and a few people
and they don't know it.
In their early 20s, in their early 20s before they ever really get sick enough to go to the doctor and they're diagnosed with it.
Well, now this research that's going to be done, juvenile diabetes research this weekend, Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock, they register and 2:30 is the run. But somebody could come and register and they wouldn't have to run, would they?
Oh yeah, they don't have to walk.
Walk, okay.
We like to get as many walkers as we can to show support. But
they can show support.
The key, yes.
Can they show support by just donating money?
The checkbook or the credit card, will show support too. But we would, we had a really good crowd last year, and we're anticipating a good crowd this year too.
What about Dianetics? Why are they involved?
One of the leaders of the chapter here in Huntsville is an executive over at Dianetics, and so that they have really been very good to us. As far as, we had a luncheon over there a couple of weeks ago, and the executive is really into that. He has a child that is diabetic too.
Oh my goodness. Richard, let's give them a place. I guess it's okay to give them Richard Sikes at Comcast.net.
Yes.
But also maybe there's phone number if they want to, maybe they want to donate and not going to be here this weekend or something like that. So, or they've already got something else planned.
Yeah, there is a website. You can donate on the website, JDRF. When you get in the website, you'll see you can plug in the state that you're in, and then it goes down to the city of Huntsville, and you can donate through your credit card on the website, so you don't even have to attend to make a contribution.
That's JDRF. F is in Frank.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I wrote S, and okay.
It's Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation.
Now, what have they been able to do? Are you familiar with anything that has helped? The foundation has helped in the past. I've insisted that you not bring a lot of statistics along, but have you heard of anything they've been able to do? Or what have they?
Well, one thing they've really done is they have really helped make the insulin more effective. And of course, that's the key to getting the numbers down. But what they're working on now that really gives a lot of hope to people who are affected by diabetes is they're working on what we call an artificial pancreas.
Really?
And that is like a small computer that would be put within your body.
Heart monitor, only pancreas monitor.
And what that would do, and this is in testing stage now, but what it does is it monitors, just like your pancreas does, it monitors your blood sugar level all the time. And then when you need more insulin, then it pumps the insulin into your system. And it also, the other, besides your blood sugar getting too high, which is when you take the insulin, the other problem with diabetes is when your blood sugar gets too low, you can go into a diabetic coma, which is really a very serious situation. And the artificial pancreas would alert you that your blood sugar level is too low, and you need to eat something. And if it's really low, you need to eat something sweet quickly. Really? To get it back
up. And yet
up.
they can't eat the sugar, the ice cream and the
only when it gets too low. When it gets too low, that's
hers was way too high.
Yeah, there are two issues. When it gets too high,
like hers was
over
700.
Yes, that is dangerous. But when it gets too high, that can cause problems with your heart, your kidneys, and your vision. And so you have to get it down, or over time it will really cause problems with those areas. But if it gets too low, the other side of the coin, then you can go into the diabetic coma, which is very dangerous in itself.
Well, Richard, I guess you and Nell have just spent a lot of time studying this, and you as an author probably studied research and finding out a lot about it. And how is she taking it? I know she's sad not to have ice cream and orange juice and whatever. She can't have cookies, got maybe sugar-free cookies.
Yeah, she can have those in small quantities, but you just have to not let her have too many of them.
And she is so beautiful.
She is.
She is really gorgeous. It's like the Lord gave her a gift of beauty, and her hair is so incredible, and her eyes, and she's like, I hope she becomes the poster child for this, because she is so gorgeous.
She is our little doll.
Well, she would be anybody's little doll.
And she, takes it all in stride.
Yeah. So she's in school now.
Yeah, she's in.
How do they handle the lunch hour?
Well, what she does, she tells the school nurse what she ate for lunch that day, and then the nurse gives her a shot.
Oh.
And then if any issues arise during the day, then the nurse contacts her mother, and they only live 2 blocks from the school. So
that's great.
The mother comes up if there's other issues.
I guess she hadn't been able to work.
No, she hasn't, because she's really tied to Megan.
Yes,
and she has done some part-time creative painting and whatever. But yeah, as far as a 40-hour-a-week job, she couldn't do it because of having to stay close to Mexi.
Oh my! Well, I know there's so many adults that you want to whoop upon them, as they say out in the country, because they could watch that more by just their exercise and their diet and their what they're eating. So, but that's a totally different thing, type 2 diabetes as opposed to type 1 diabetes, which is the really, well, they're both serious, they're both something we don't want to have, but at the same time, how has it affected you? I wanted to ask you what you mean by account consultant, Richard. What do you do as an account consultant?
Well, I am an old, and I emphasize the old, accountant, and I retired several years ago, and after I retired, I had one of my former companies that I used to be controller for up in Pulaski is a manufacturer of shock absorbers for cars, and they were in the process of closing down the plant. And so they asked me if I would just come up once a week and just keep an eye on things, and this was a 6-month job. And so I said, sure, yeah, I'd love to do that. That would give me a little piddling job and not tie me down too much. And so about 3 years after this 6-month job started, it finally played out, which was about a year and a half ago. But I haven't done anything since then except peddle my books. And that always keeps me busy this time of the year, because if you're in the book business, and if you're in the football book business, you have to really make hay around Christmas time.
Oh, yes.
And my books have really been good little gift items. And so I have done very well with those. And
yeah, I want to find out about that. I wanted to tell one little story about a friend of ours in the National Speakers Association, which they always have a lot of authors that are a part of that. And he actually was the founder of it, Cabot Robert, and he said that he's an attorney in New York, and the doctor sent him to Arizona for 6 months to live. He's going to pass in 6 months. I said, you got 6 months to live. He said, the last 46 years have been the most wonderful 6 months of my life. So you had that same thing.
yeah, you really appreciate it.
The last 3 years have been the most wonderful 6 months of my life, huh?
Yeah,
Because that gave you a little, as you said,
a
running money.
a little extra money, and it's just something to do, you know.
Sure.
And not like you just fell off the face of the earth, you know. You still have
Right.
something that you like doing that you could do on a part-time basis.
Well, we're going to get a little bit into the books this time. Just put Miss Megan down, and if anybody wants to donate specifically for her, they don't do that, do they? They just
Yeah, they can.
in the name of
They can go to that on the website and donate.
Good.
But really,
We're gonna move
it's not really that key.
around.
The main thing is just for the JDRF in general.
Sure. And let's get these books over here, and then we're going to actually do more of this next week. But let's get the books up. But we want to make sure so you can. Oh my goodness! Tell us a little bit how that came about. The name of it. Is this your first one you did?
Yeah, this is the first book I did, and I grew up down in Pensacola. And we got mobile TV stations. And as a teenager, every Sunday afternoon from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, you could always find me in one place, and that was in front of the TV watching the Bear Bryant Show.
Turn it a little more.
And I, down through the years, have always liked little funny anecdotes, and I had collected a lot of little stories about Coach Bryant. I just clipped funny stories out of the newspaper and stash them away in an area where my wife couldn't find them, because she says I'm a litter bug, a pack rat. But
well, all writers are. All authors are, so that's just part of it.
But there have been a lot of books written about Coach Bryant. But it just occurred to me at some point that he was really a colorful character. And I thought a funny book just about humorous stories about Coach Bryant would really go over. And
it did.
It really did.
Did you have a publisher?
I self-published this.
Okay.
And
who'd you have to do that?
I have a guy up in Nashville who is a consultant, Mike Toll, and he had his own publishing company.
Oh, that's good.
But he didn't publish these. He just took my Microsoft Word stories and, as they say, made a book out of them.
Oh, that's good.
And Mike is really a good guy to work with. But I sent him all my stuff and told him what I was doing, and he said, yeah, he would do that for a reasonable amount of money.
Well, as reasonable, like a couple thousand.
A little less than that.
A little less than that.
But yeah, and so I collected 40 funny stories about Coach Bryant. And as I was finishing up my research, I was down at the Bryant Museum in Tuscaloosa, and I told them what I was doing, and I said, you know, this is going to be called Laughing with the Bear. And I really need a good picture of Coach Bryant laughing to put on the front cover. And they looked at me like I had two heads. And they said there aren't any pictures of Coach Bryant laughing. But they looked for 2 days in the Bryant Museum, and they have thousands of pictures of him down there. And apparently there are only 2 pictures of him laughing. And that is the better of the two. And my advice for any aspiring author is, if you want to publish a book in the state of Alabama, it's not a bad idea to have a picture of Coach Bryant on the cover. I initially, against the advice of my wife and my publishing consultant, Mike Toll, I ordered 10,000 of these books, and I know my wife wanted to have me committed at that time. And,
I love it.
And I went ahead and got 10,000 copies of the book, and I got them right at the end of October of 2003. And about 10 days before Christmas, we were out of books.
All right, I love that plan.
We had sold 10,000 books in about 5.5 weeks.
That is so incredible. So
And now we're up to about 35,000, and it still sells. When I first took this book down to the guy who buys books at the university, he looked at it and he said, "You'll sell a lot of those books, and you'll sell them for a long time." And so we're going on
When was that?
That was in 03.
8 years ago. Or
Yeah,
thereabout.
and it's still selling now.
Okay.
8 years later, we're still selling, and it's carried
Can
around.
I borrow some money with you all this summer? Okay, let's see what you did next.
All right, after.
Now, if you want that book, don't forget it's Richard Sikes at Comcast.net, and you want to tell us how much they are?
That they're $16.95, and if you'll send me a note with your email, I'll be glad to personalize it and autograph it for whomever you want it autographed. And they're great little gifts, and
Sure.
that's one thing I sold so many of through gift shops besides bookstores.
So you would just go to, you may lay it over here by Miss Megan, so we might want to talk about it again. There you go.
But then after about 3 years, even though the Bear book did really well, obviously sales started declining some because
Sure.
so many people had it at that point. And so I started thinking about another sports personality who was a colorful character. And the first person that popped into my mind was a person that is not really that popular in the state of Alabama, Steve Spurrier.
Okay.
But I...
Well, look, okay.
And of course Spurrier is laughing too. He's laughing with the head ball coach.
Yeah.
Now, most people that aren't Florida or South Carolina fans think of Spurrier as being real arrogant and cocky and not a real nice person. He's not the kind of guy you'd want to invite for dinner.
Okay.
But I wrote Spurrier a letter early in the process and told him that I'd written a book about Coach Bryant and I was going to do one about him. And he was really nice.
Oh,
really a nice guy.
So you
really
opposed to what you were hearing.
Yeah, he really impressed me. But one of Spurrier's nicknames is the old ball coach. So I told him, I said, you know, I'm going to call this Laughing with the Old Ball Coach. It's sort of a folksy kind of a title. And he wrote back and he told me 2 or 3 funny stories to use in the book. But then he said, I have always hated that nickname, the old ball coach.
Yeah.
I would appreciate it if you would just call it the head ball coach. Laughing with the head ball coach. So anyway, Spurrier named the book himself.
That's good. Okay.
And of course this book did really
now,
well.
How many did you order of that one?
I ordered 10,000, and that's what I've sold. That gives you an order of magnitude of Coach Bryant. I mean, he's magic. And this book really did well with Florida and South Carolina fans, just like I thought it would.
Did you have to go over there?
Yes,
I did.
I wore the roads out between here and Florida and here in South Carolina the first couple of years it was
That's
out.
good. Okay,
But-
what did you do next?
but-
And I'm going to ask you some of the, all right, let's see who this is.
When the Spurrier book started going down after a couple of years, I started thinking about another colorful sports personality. And
Turn it over.
I ran across some funny Adolph Rupp stories while I was doing the Bryant book because they were coaches at Kentucky at the same time. And so I wrote Laughing with Uncle Adolph about former Kentucky basketball coach Adolph Rupp. And my wife is my proofreader.
Okay.
And when she was proofing the Laughing with Uncle Adolph book, she said, now that is by far the funniest book that you have written. Besides being a great basketball coach, Rupp was really a character that tried to be funny. A lot of the Bryant and Spurrier stories were funny just because they were funny, not because they were trying to be funny at the time. But a lot of these Rupp stories were, he was just really a crazy character.
Mm-hmm.
And of course this did really well with Kentucky basketball
How
fans.
many did you order there?
And I only ordered, because he'd been out of coaching so long, I only ordered about 3,000 and I've sold about 2,800. So I've got a few of these left, but they're still selling.
Well, that's good.
Up in Kentucky.
And let's go to the next one. And you know, I see UK right here in Village of Providence, so they might sell some locally.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. Okay, this was what?
In 2009, early in the football season.
09. Mm-hmm.
2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I just got a feeling in my gut, which I'd had a time or two before when Coach Bryant was alive, that Alabama was going to win the national championship. And as I like to say, when Tennessee was lining up to kick a field goal to beat Alabama down in Tuscaloosa that year, I was thinking, well, maybe that feeling in my gut was just indigestion. But as we know, Alabama blocked Tennessee's field goal attempt. And then they had another big comeback to beat Auburn that year. And so they wound up winning the national championship. So I wrote Alabama's Football Pride, the 13 national championships. And this book has a chapter about each team that won national championships.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have given about 30 speeches around the state to various civic clubs about the 1925. The first national championship team for Alabama was the 1925 team that won the 1926 Rose Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Now that is really not just an Alabama fan story, but that is really why Southern football, or well, football is so popular in the South. Because the South never really had recovered from the Civil War in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And we were really looked down upon by the rest of the country and really had an inferiority complex.
Well, you know what? We're going to have to hear more about that inferiority complex and how you did that. And actually next week, so you got to get both shows. We'll get them onto a DVD for both shows. But I want to thank Richard and Nell Sikes. Nell was so good about bragging about your storytelling, so you got to thank her for that. And also, we want to get our beautiful Megan up here again, so we can remind everyone again about the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation that raising money tomorrow, in this case, this should be on tonight, and tomorrow, Saturday night, and tomorrow would be Sunday, the 18th
Yes.
of the month, September
Yes.
here, at 1 o'clock registration, and at 2:30 the run starts.
Yes.
Dianetics, can you give us an address?
It's over in Research Park.
Okay.
It's sort of close to Bridge Street.
All right. What you got? I remember
you
seeing-
can Google Dianetics
That's
and
right.
find it.
And what you can do also is you go ask your sweet Nell, or one of you can actually Google that. And so when people email you at richardsykes@comcast.net, you can email them back and say it's so-and-so in case they don't have a GPS.
We'll get them there.
We'll get them there, that's right. And so remember, that's fundraising, and I want to thank Richard and Nell Sikes, even though Nell didn't come over here today, for telling us about their gorgeous granddaughter, Megan. I think the good Lord just said, okay, she's Miss America and that's it. And I'm Bonnie Libhart, and we're glad that you joined us, and you will want to hear more about the Alabama football, the 13 national championships, and you must watch again next week at 8 o'clock on Saturday night, Channel 3, Comcast. Or you can get it on your internet too. Just pull up drbonniel.com and look at the TV shows and look for Richard Sikes. And bless your heart for watching.